What's up, guys? It's Austin Rutherford here. Today we're talking about assignment agreements. So if you're in real estate and you want to wholesale houses, you need to have an assignment agreement, because once you go into a purchase and sale agreement with your seller, you need an assignment agreement to assign that to your end buyer. So that's what we're going over here today, and I got two things for you. One, I'm going to show you how you can do this virtually. I'm going to show you how to do it on the desktop, but I'm going to show you how you can do it virtually, and you can have people sign over the internet without having to go and hand somebody an assignment agreement. And number two, I'm going to give you a copy of my assignment agreement. So hang out till the end so you can see how to get a copy of the assignment agreement. But that's what I'm doing for you here today. So if you've ever gotten any value from this and you want to learn how to do real estate, you want to learn how to make more money, make sure you hit that red subscribe button below so you can sign up for notifications. You can get the videos and the content as soon as it drops. You can hit that thumbs up button for me if this has ever provided value. And also drop any comments below, any comments, any questions, any concerns. My attorney always wants me to say this. It's the disclaimer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a financials advisor. I'm not a FIC. I'm not anything of those professional designations. These are just my personal experiences, sharing it with you. So make sure you go and contact your own people to make sure you're doing things correctly. So we're going to get into it here today. So again, what is the assignment agreement? It is an assignment agreement from a seller to a buyer. I want to make this very, very clear here. You are not, like, let's say you get an agreement with the seller for $70,000. You are not selling that house to your end buyer. You cannot sell something you do not own. You are assigning your interest to your purchase and sale agreement to the end buyer. So that's why it's called an assignment of real estate purchase and sale agreement. You're assigning your contract. You're selling your contract. You are not selling the house. I want to make that very clear here because a lot of people get that confused. And again, different states have different laws and different guidelines regarding real estate because it is a business in every single state. They have attorneys involved, so make sure the things that I say for what we do in our state are correct for you and your state before making any massive, large decisions. So again, this is my experience. Again, when you're dealing with realtors and deals like this, it's going to be sometimes hard to explain what an assignment agreement is because they're so used to using a real estate, a board purchase and sale agreement, because that's what they use all day, every day. So if you call a realtor and say, hey, I'm selling my contract, some of them won't understand what you're saying because they're so used to a seller selling a property, not a wholesaler assigning the property. So that's something you may have to battle with to get them past that barrier. When you're in contract with the seller and you find another investor, most investors understand what an assignment agreement is. So that's what we're going over here. We're going over the details of it. We're going over the specs over it so you can understand it. And so hopefully you'll be able to explain it to somebody if they do not know what that means. So let's get right on into it. Like I said, this is an assignment of a sales contract for real estate. It's assignment of the purchase and sale agreement, not selling the property. So the address goes right here, whatever the property address is, 123 East Main Street. For valuable consideration in the gross amount. So this is, let's say you're in contract for $70,000 and you're selling it to an end buyer for $80,000. So this would be $80,000. This is the gross amount, which includes the sale of the original purchase contract as defined below, which is acknowledged. The assignor is you. You are the assignor. You're the one assigning the property. So this is you. Hereby assigns to assignee, which is whoever the end buyer is. The end buyer is the assignee. We do the original purchase and sale agreement. So in the original purchase and sale agreement between you and the seller, you have to put that date in here. So, if they signed it 5 days ago, before 10/20, whatever the date that they signed the agreement. And then between the seller, whoever the seller's name is, and me as the buyer. So this is you as the buyer. So you're the assignor and you're assignor in the assignment agreement and the buyer in the purchase and sale agreement. And then in consideration for this agreement, signee shall deposit with whatever title company you're using here. So, AAA title company, they have to deposit their earnest money deposit to that title company to make this contract valid. The assignment in the amount of, so this is talking about that earnest money deposit. You need to collect earnest money deposit on a property to tie your buyer to that property. When you go into contract with a seller, you usually put, $100, $500, $1,000. When you're selling that to an end buyer, you want to make that as much money as possible so they don't want to walk away from the deal because they'll lose that money. Because right here it says non-refundable assignment earnest money deposit. So this is a non-refundable deposit. So you want to make it as much as possible. $2,000, $10,000, $20,000. So we'll just put $5,000 in this one as a non-refundable earnest money deposit. And they can wire the money in, but they need to have it in within 2 business days. So if they don't have it within 2 business days, this is a non-valid contract. They did not abide by the terms of the contract. And you have to get the earnest money deposit, because if you don't, and closing day comes and they say, never mind, I don't want to close, they walk away for free. But if you have a non-refundable earnest money deposit of $5,000 and they say, oh man, never mind, I can't close, then you get that $5,000. Then you can pay the seller some money, try and amend the pieces right there. You have money, and most times buyers won't want to walk away from that amount of money, so they'll usually get the deal done. For whatever reason, if you dissolve this contract for whatever reason, that's when the buyer gets the earnest money deposit back. That's the only time they get the earnest money deposit back, is if you, for whatever reason, dissolve this agreement. Let's say because the seller doesn't want to sell, then you'd have to dissolve this agreement. Part of this assignment, earnest money deposit herein, assignee shall place the $250 earnest money deposit assignor has on deposit. So basically what this is saying, that this replaces your money that you currently have on deposit. Contract for sale with the title company upon receipt and verification of the same. Title companies can then release your earnest money deposit from the seller. So if you put $500 down right here where it says $250, if you put $500 down, change this to $500, but this money part of this money would replace your earnest money deposit with the seller. Sign or represent, this is just a whole lot of legal jargon, so we're just going to kind of fly through this. Represents and warranties that Exhibit A attached to this assignment is a true and complete copy of the purchase and sale agreement. So any buyer will want to see your original purchase and sale agreement, because what they're agreeing to is to take your place in your original purchase and sale agreement with the seller. So they have to understand what your terms were so they can make sure that they can follow through with whatever terms those are. If you agreed to, a 10-day lease back with the seller, your end buyer has to give the seller a 10-day lease back. So whatever's in your contract, they're assuming that, so they have to see it to confirm that they can, follow through with those commitments that you made. Some buyers will want to see it to see how much money you're making on the deal and count your pockets. So when we send the purchase and sale agreement to the end buyer along with this assignment agreement, we black out our purchase price so they can't count our pockets. They can see everything else in the deal. They can see all the terms, all the conditions, but they can't see how much money we're making. Purchase and sale agreements in full force and effect. Assignor's interest in the purchase agreement is free and clear of any prior assignments, so you haven't previously already assigned this to somebody. Assigner has good right and lawful authority to execute and deliver this, meaning that you're actually in contract with the seller. No party to purchase this agreement is presently in default with respect to the performance of such parties' obligations. Again, you haven't broken your agreement with the seller at this time. All materials relating to this project has been delivered to the assignee, and reports shall be assigned to assignee. If you've gotten any reports, you give those to your end buyer. All expenses incurred by the assigner prior to this agreement shall be the responsibility of the assigner. So if you went out and had soil tests done or home inspections done, you are assuming that cost. Your end buyer is not reimbursing you for that cost. They're paying you a fee, and that's that. No broker is entitled to a fee other than those identified in the purchase agreement or by separate written agreement between assigner or assignee. So there's no realtors involved here unless it specifically states that there's a realtor involved here. So sometimes a realtor will bring a buyer to our deal, and then we'll pay the realtor to bring the buyer to our deal. Again, this is just a disclosure that I'm a licensed real estate agent here in the state of Ohio. It's just something I have to disclose here in Ohio. So if you're an agent in other states, see if that's something you have to disclose. By accepting this agreement, assignee assumes and agrees to perform all the obligations under the original purchase and sale agreement, including failure to perform the assumed obligations on a timely basis. So basically, this just means that they have to do what your original purchase and sale agreement states. The assignment should be interpreted under the laws of the county that it's in. If something comes up, it has to be brought to the courts in that current location, current city. If assignee/purchaser does not successfully acquire title to the property, so if I do not, shall immediately release the full earnest money deposit to the seller/assignee. So if we're in an agreement with the seller and we cannot get free and clear title, which means that our end buyer cannot buy the property because the title is not clear. If the deal falls out for that reason, the seller does not get the earnest money deposit that you put up. You get your money back on deposit from the seller, and your end buyer gets their earnest money deposit back. At that point, it's refundable because you couldn't provide free and clear title. That's what this means. This is just the closing date. So a signing makes a settlement on the property on or before whatever day you need to close. You want to make this day as quickly as possible. You don't want to keep dragging this out because it just leaves more room for error and for a way that the deal could not go through. So for this, you want to make it as quickly as possible. 1 day, 5 days, 10 days, maybe 15 days, as quickly as possible. If a assignee does not purchase close on above said property by this date due to any type of assignee default, assignee shall be responsible to pay in full said assignment consideration to assignor. So if you have a $10,000 assignment fee and they don't close for whatever reason, they still owe you that $10,000 assignment fee. If title is clear, the seller is on board, if they just decide not to close for whatever reason. In addition, title company shall immediately release full assignment earnest money deposit to assignor. So that's why we keep the earnest money deposit. You get paid that if your buyer does not perform. This shall also serve as a release of contract, and the assignor is permitted to sell the property to any other parties without any recourse by the assignee/purchaser. So if they do not follow through with their agreement, your buyer, and then you keep their earnest money deposit, you can then go sell that property to another buyer. Settlement does not occur on or before this date due to reasons other than assignee's default. Closing may be extended for up to 30 days at option of assignor. So basically, if you can't get free and clear title by the closing date, it can extend another 30 days to allow you to get free and clear title, so then the buyer can purchase the property. And then signature page to follow. So right here, you as the assignor, the assignment agreement, the buyer as the assignee signs the assignment agreement, and now the buyer is buying the property from the seller, and then you're making the margin in the middle. So that's what an assignment agreement looks like. I wanted to break it down to hopefully it makes sense. It's not, overly complicated. There's only a few lines that you have to fill out in here, but the essence of it is they need to know what they're agreeing to take your place in, meaning that they need to see a copy of the purchase and sale agreement and see whatever you agreed with the seller at that time. And you have to figure out how much earnest money deposit and the closing date. You want to make the earnest money deposit as high as possible, and you want to make the closing timeline as quickly as possible, because that's how you get paid, is by getting the deal closed as fast as possible and making sure that your buyer actually closes the deal. So that's what this does. It ties people to a commitment. So like I mentioned, the two things that you're going to get here, you can take this assignment agreement and go and hand it to your buyer and have them sign this agreement for you, or you can have it done all online. You want to go as virtual as possible because it saves time. Instead of you having to drive to go and see the buyer, sign the agreement, drive back, upload the agreement to your system, if you can do it all online from the very beginning, just from an email, it simplifies the entire process a lot. So we do it online. So you can get systems like .loop.com. You can get a system like DocuSign.com, WriteSignature.com. These are all e-signature platforms. And basically what those do is you can put in the details of the agreement. So you can just come here, you can fill out, the address and the purchase price and the seller's name and type them all in there. And then you can assign the signature lines. So you can assign the signor to yourself, and you can assign the signee to your end buyer. And you put those email addresses in there and you click share. And what that does is it sends you an email and it sends your buyer an email with that fully filled out. So then you'll go in there, you'll sign it. Your buyer will go in there, look it over, make sure it looks good, sign it. And as soon as both parties have signed the agreement, it automatically sends him a filled out copy, fully executed document, and it sends us a fully executed document. So it saves time, it saves systems, it saves money. You don't have to purchase paper. So it's just an easier process overall. For us in our business, we use Podio. It's a CRM where we made Right Signature link to our Podio. So right inside of our CRM, as soon as we get somebody that's interested in the property, we can send that agreement to them with the clicks of 2 buttons. So that's what I'm gonna show you in here. So this is in our Podio system. You come in here, the seller name, Joe Seller will be here. Seller email will be joe@joe.com. And then you scroll down here and you fill out everything in between. So assignment/purchase sale agreement. So the assignment agreement, let's say we have it at $70,000 with our seller and we're selling it to them at $80,000. So we do $80,000 right there. How much earnest money deposit are we going to collect? Let's say $5,000. We want them to close on or before, next Friday. You put your title company in here, whatever title company you use. So the assignor is you, the seller. Whoever you went into contract with to buy the property, that's who is signing it. So that would be you. It'd be your email, seller@seller.com. The assignee, whoever your buyer is, if they're buying it as an individual or if they're buying it as an LLC, that would be buyer. And then, their email, let's call it buyer@buyer.com. And then any other terms and conditions. So again, this is where anything extra, assignor and assignee agree blank, whatever you guys agree right there. So you're good there. So you generate PDF, click that button, a fully executed document will come in here. Scroll down to the bottom, click this button, and then you review this to make sure that it makes sense. You got the address here, you got the price there, you got as the buyer and the assignee, you got the seller, you got you, and then this date should pull when your original purchase and sale agreement was signed. I'm using this as an example, so this deal is not in our system, but our system tracks when the first contract was signed and puts that date into the assignment agreement. And then it goes in here, you got the title company, you got a $5,000 earnest money deposit, you got, automatically loads into the title company. And then down here, and you see the additional terms loaded as well. And then down here, it automatically puts in you as the assignor and the buyer is the assignee. So you verify everything looks good. And then what you click is you click send via e-sign. So you send them emails, they send you an email and it sends them an email via e-signature. So they pull it up on their phone, they swipe through it, click sign now, and the deal's done. And then it will once it's fully executed, it'll come back into our Podio system, fully executed agreement, and then we send that to our transaction coordinator. So as you get into this, as you do more deals, as you make more money, you want to simplify the system. Instead of driving all over the city, going to the title company, going to meeting and getting contracts signed from sellers and buyers and being all over the place, you can do it all from your desktop on a computer. So if that's something you're interested in, comment below. I can give you more details on it. So that's how you can do it virtually. And like I said, the second thing I promise you is that you are going to get our assignment agreement. So if you hit the link below, you'll actually get a copy of our assignment agreement that you can use. Again, make sure you run it by your attorney, make sure it works in the state that you're in, and just confirm that everything's above board with a professional of yours, because this is just our experience. We did a previous video on how to fill out a purchase and sale agreement. So if you haven't watched that yet, make sure you take a look at it. And then this is the assignment agreement. Just clarify one more time, you are not selling the property. You cannot sell something you do not own. You are assigning your interest to your purchase and sale agreement to your end buyer. That's how that process works. And that's what an assignment agreement is for, because you're assigning interest, you're not selling the property. I hope that this brought some clarity to the process and to the situation. If anything didn't make sense, or if you have any comments, make sure you drop them below so I can answer them. If this added value to you, if you want to learn more about real estate, if you want to continue to see our content, make sure you hit that red subscribe button below and turn on the notification button when you do it. Hit that like button, hit the thumbs up button. YouTube loves when videos get thumbs up and they push them to the top. So I would greatly appreciate it if you could hit that thumbs up button. Until next time, we'll see you then.